Good evening. This is CTV News. I'm Denise Douglas.
And I'm Patricia Vallone. Thank you for joining us this evening. Well, the Baltimore City police officer who faced the most serious charges in connection with the death of Freddie Gray walked out of the courthouse today a free man. Byron Scott has the story.
But listen to this verdict. Not guilty on all charges. Freddie Gray is dead.
Anger, but little if any surprise on the streets of Baltimore tonight after a judge finds police officer Cesar Goodson not guilty of all charges.
The police stole Freddie Gray's life. It is unacceptable that the cops who did that are getting let go.
It was Goodson who faced the most serious charges, second-degree murder. He drove the transport van with Freddie Gray in the back, shackled but not seatbelted. This was said to be the state's strongest case, but legal observers say it was weak at best.
The state promised in its opening argument that it was going to show that a rough ride was given to Freddie Gray. That wasn't proven at all. Judge Williams, during closing arguments, really took the state to task for its failure to prove that there were obvious signs exhibited by Freddie Gray while during that transport.
Revolution!
Protesters arrived at the courthouse throughout the morning. They are angered by what they see as systemic injustice. Of the 6 officers charged in connection with the death of Freddie Gray, 3 have been tried. None have been convicted of anything.
Criminally responsible requires that the state prove beyond reasonable doubt, essentially, that in this case, Goodson possessed this criminal state of mind, that he intended to hurt this guy, that he intended the consequences of his actions. And that's just not the case.
Still, 2 questions remain unanswered. Why was Freddie Gray arrested? And how did his neck get snapped while in custody?
I think the criminal justice system contended with us today that black lives really don't matter.
3 of the officers still await trial. The next one is set for next month. But with the state failing to get a conviction in its strongest case, many feel that there'll be no convictions at all in the death of Freddie Gray. In Baltimore, Byron Scott, CTV News.
And another protest is planned for 5 tonight in the neighborhood where Freddie Gray lived.
A blow to immigration reform coming from the U.S. Supreme Court today. In a 4-4 vote, justices left in place a lower court's decision which forbids President Obama from launching the Deferred Action Program. It would make nearly 5 million undocumented immigrants in the U.S. eligible for quasi-legal status and work permits. A representative from Casa de Maryland reacted to the decision.
Well, obviously, we're disappointed by the decision today, but the fight is not over. Clearly, what needs to happen next is we need to take it to the elections. The Republicans have blocked any kind of immigration reform from happening, and so our goal is to make sure that the Latino and immigrant community turns out in November, that we get a democratically controlled Congress, and that we're able to make sure that immigration reform goes through with the next president.
President Obama also says the country must continue to push for immigration reform. He's gone from the classroom to being behind bars. A 29-year-old teacher was caught in a prostitution sting. Martin Brown, who teaches at Langley Park McCormick Elementary School in Hyattsville, is charged with 2 counts of prostitution and human trafficking. Investigators say he tried to solicit a prostitute and also rented a room that was used for the encounter.
He was engaged in actions that are consistent with what would historically be known as a pimp. The bottom line is he rented a room where a woman was working out of as a prostitute was working out of that room, and he was with some other co-conspirators when we found him.
In a statement, the school district says it is cooperating fully with law enforcement, and its goal is to maintain a safe educational environment for students. You are watching CTV News. I'm Denise Douglas.
And I'm Patricia Vallone.